Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2 Unit 5.6 Notes, Day 3. Today we are continuing our discussion on characteristics of polynomial functions. Our learning target today is to be able to draw a graph and explain the reasons behind it given different characteristics. Interesting. Okay, so sketch the graph of a function that fits the description provided. Then, using complete sentence, explain how each characteristic in the description is satisfied by your sketch. Use the vocabulary bank if necessary. All right, so let's look at our first graph that we are asked to do. So, first, they're saying it needs to be cubic. Okay, well, if something is cubic, that means it is cubed, right? Okay. And that's where we have the S graph, or some people call it the N graph, okay? Which means that there are two turns. Okay. Something else that it needs to be, there needs to be three distinct zeros. Okay, if there are three distinct zeros, that means our graph is going to cross the x-axis 3 times. Okay, and then the last thing that it wants it to be is it says that it needs to have a negative leading coefficient. Well, if it has a negative leading coefficient and it's cubed, that means that our graph is going to fall to the right. Dude, Mr. Grice, how do you know all this stuff? Well, I know my definitions, okay? And if you can't remember it, go back to 5.6 day 1 and just look at that, because those tell you the descriptions of what to do, okay? So when I'm drawing my cubic function, okay, it needs to fall to the right, and that means the opposite side is going to rise. Okay? Now, it doesn't have to look 100% like mine. It could be like this, okay? Or it could be like woo, woo, like that, okay? It's just asking for a general idea of what it's going to look like, okay? I know this works because it's got 1, 2, 3 x-intercepts, 3 distinct zeros. It's falling to the right, and there are 2 turns. Okay? So now they want us to write about it. Okay? So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is what I underlined in blue, meaning that it's cubic. Okay? So if something is cubic, a cubic function, okay, what that means is there can be a max number of 2 turns. So a cubic function can have a max number of 2 turns, okay? 1, 2, 2 turns, okay? So the next thing we talked about, 3 distinct zeros. So 3 distinct zeros mean there are 3 x-intercepts, okay? And we have 1, 2, 3 x-intercepts, okay? Mr. Grice is so crazy with colors that I'm just going to make them match. So they're all pink. There we go. Okay. And then the last thing we talked about is the negative leading coefficient. Okay. So a negative leading coefficient, okay, means the function, the function falls um, for the right end behavior. For the right end behavior. Okay, and that's what we are doing right here. This is where we are falling. Okay? I know when you look at it, it's like, oh man, I gotta write 3 sentences. That's easy. Well, it can be if you know what you're talking about, if you know the definitions. Okay? So, our next one, a quartic function with 3 distinct real zeros and a positive leading coefficient. Okay? So the quartic, that's our x to the 4th power. Okay? We call that the W. Okay? That has 3 terms. Now, the 3 distinct real zeros, once again, that means that it crosses the x-axis 3 times. My positive leading coefficient, that means that we're going to rise to the right. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and get started with this guy. So I know I've got to cross it 3 times. So there's 1, 2. Well, if I come back down and come back up, I can't do that. So got to restart. How am I going to make it so it only touches it 3 times? So there's 1, 2, and then I can doop, touch, boom, come back up. There we go. So the first thing is I should have 3 turns. So there's 1, 2, 3. Good. So a quartic function has a max number of 3 turns. Beautiful. I've got a max number of 3 turns. Now, my 3 distinct zeros, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now, I could have 4, but that's the max number. Okay? So this one has 3. Okay? So what this means is 3 distinct zeros means it crosses or touches x-axis 3 times, which it does. Okay? And then our last thing we're talking about is the right end behavior, and that's because we are rising because it's a positive leading coefficient. Okay? So a positive leading coefficient, what that means is the right end behavior rises. Okay? Now, I know that my left end behavior also rises because it's a quartic function and that they do the same thing. Just like when it was a cubic, that this one is going to rise while the other one falls. Okay? Because they do the opposite. So here we go. We have a quadratic function with no distinct real zeros with a negative leading coefficient. Okay? quadratic, we know that that's x squared. That's our U-shaped graph, okay? It has one term. No distinct real zeros means that it crosses the x-axis 0 times, okay? And the negative leading coefficient means that it falls to the right, okay? So once again, you guys could have multiple different versions of how this looks. There's my version of it, and you guys are going to pause the video and see if you can write a sentence down for each one of those definitions, okay? Go ahead and pause that video, and good luck. Okay, and here we go. So a quadratic function means that it has a max number of one term. No distinct real zeros means that it crosses the x-axis no times. It does not touch it at all. Okay, and then the negative leading coefficient means that the right end behavior falls. And since it's quadratic, my left end behavior falls as well. Okay? Well, guys, that's it. Yeah, that's it for Algebra 2, Unit 5.6, Notes, Day 3. If you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice signing off. Thanks for watching.